Hi, I'm Amy, thanks for tuning in. I had such a good year in 2022 for books. I enjoyed doing loads of events for my books and meeting lots of readers. I think a particular highlight being Yalk and getting to talk up on that big stage at the Young Adult Literary Convention. It was a really amazing year. And I also read lots of books I absolutely loved and found some new favourite authors like Stephen Graham Jones. My Heart is a Chainsaw is probably one of my favourite books I read in the year. So I'm excited about the books I'm going to read in 2023. I'm going to talk to you about my first list of books for January, but first I'm going to tell you a little bit about my YA book club that will be starting in January as well. So in case you haven't seen in one of my previous videos, I'm going to be doing a YA book club where we will read one book a month and discuss it at the end of the month. There'll also be stopping points if you're interested, where once a week we will talk about the book across my social media. So I'll be doing that on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and we also have a Goodreads group with discussions and polls and things like that. So if you'd like to join me on any of the social media to talk about books, that'd be great. The other thing I want to tell you is that there'll be giveaways. So 3 people who post on social media about Frozen Charlotte, which is our first pick. So 3 people who post about the book will be sent a signed book plate signed by Alex Bell, the author. And 3 people who get involved in the live chat at the end of the month and comment will also be in with a chance of winning a signed book plate that Alex is kindly sending to me. So we, as I said, are going to be reading one book a month. Frozen Charlotte is the first pick. It is a Red Eye book, which is a series I absolutely love of YA horrors. And this is about a bunch of spooky dolls based on the myth of a young girl who went out at night and refused to wear her coat. And she froze to death, and toy companies who did the only thing they could think of, which was to make dolls to commemorate the occasion. So they made little frozen dead dolls for children to play with. And that is the premise on which this book is based. I'm super excited about it. I loved it when I read it a few years ago, so I'm excited to read it again and discuss it with people. At the end of the month on Livesprint, I will be chatting with Kelsi from Slime and Slashes, Katrina Brown and Spoopy Hall. I'll link to their channels in the description. Please check them out because they're all amazing. And I'm really excited to see what the 3 of them think of the book. I hope they enjoy it as much as I do. So I think that's everything I want to tell you about the book club. So Frozen Charlotte will be the first book that I'm going to read over the month. I'm going to try and read it at the 4 stopping places so that I can discuss with people chunks of the book one section at a time. So my first pick of the month and my first YA book club read as well. Another book that I really wanted to read in December and didn't get a chance was A Game of Life and Death by Triona Campbell. This one comes out in February, so because of that I thought I can manage to read it in January instead, just because I had so many books that I wanted to read in December that were coming out in January. So this one says, players, welcome to Zootech's newest game, Shackle. Now let's see how long you can live. It is about a girl who's tragically lost her sister, and she knows that her sister was involved with this company, Zootech, so she goes there to try and find out what happened. I'm loving this kind of YA resurgence of talking about tech and the sci-fi feel and the thriller feel. I think will be really good, so I'm excited about this one. Next up, The Final Gambit has been on my TBR pile a few times. I'm determined to read it. It's by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. It's the 3rd book in the Inheritance game series. I absolutely loved book 1 and 2. I've heard that there's going to be a 4th book. I don't know whether it's in the series or sort of a tie-in. But in the meantime, I'm going to be reading this one. So it's the story of a girl who inherits an absolutely huge amount of money unexpectedly, and the only catch is that she has to stay in a house for a year with the people who expected to inherit the money in the family of the deceased person. So it's a very tense, twisty thriller, and I love the characters, so I'm excited about seeing how this series is going to end. I've got really into cults lately, and I read a book called Don't Call It a Cult last year, and I bought this one at the time and didn't get a chance to read it. It's a book about the world's most notorious cults. It was written a while ago, so I'm not sure if the Nixium cult mentioned in Don't Call It a Cult will be in there, but I thought it'd be interesting to read about some different cults and see what that's about. It's by Nigel Cawthorne. It is obviously non-fiction, so I'm going to be trying to read a little bit more non-fiction in 2023 because I've really enjoyed the books I've read in 2022. Next, I'm doing a buddy read of No Longer Human by Junji Ito with Spoopy Hall, who's also joining me for the YA book club. It's quite a chunky one, but I think that it will be quite a quick read because it's a graphic novel. Junji Ito writes horror manga that is very dark and twisty and surprising, so I'm really excited about this one. There's no blurb on the back. I'm not going to look at the blurb inside because I want to be surprised. but I just love the artwork on the front. I love the artwork within these books. It's just gorgeous. I'm not going to show too much in case I give spoilers, but I'm excited about reading this one with Spoopy Hall. Next up, I'm going to be buddy reading another book. There's a bit of a theme this month, Marple, which is a book by 12 authors who are really well known, like Leigh Bardugo, Lucy Foley, Karen McManus, Ruth Ware. Lots of awesome authors have written stories based around Miss Marple. So I thought that was a really fun premise. Somebody mentioned it on one of my reading sprints, and Shelley and I were chatting on screen at the time and decided that we would read this book together. So it looks like it's going to be a really good one. I am also planning to read more classics in 2023. I've had this one for a while. The Castle of Otranto is meant to be one of the earlier Gothic novels. I've visited the house that Horace Walpole built near London, which was just an absolutely amazing piece of Gothic architecture. So I bought the book when I visited that years ago and then did nothing about it. So it's quite a short one, and I'm hoping to get that read in January. Next up, in the cult theme, I thought while I was reading about cults, I'd pick up another Courtney Summers book. I absolutely loved Sadie, which I read last year by Courtney Summers. And the project is a book about a cult, so I thought that it would go nicely with my non-fiction pick. It says, The Unity Project. After a tragic accident kills most of her family and leaves her little sister low on the brink of death, Bee Denham is desperate for a miracle. It arrives in the form of Lev Warren, the charismatic spiritual leader of the Unity Project. He promises he can save Lo. All Bee has to do is believe. And it goes on a little bit. I'm not going to read too much more because I don't want spoilers. But I know that Courtney Summers writes really dark, thrilling YA, so this one should be a really exciting pick. I'm also in Gothic YA Book Club, which started as an Anne Rice club, and we've kind of branched out to read other things. This is the pick for, I think we're reading it December to January, so I decided to pick it up in January. Bitter Orange by Claire Fuller. I don't know much about it. It's described as being a latter-day Daphne du Maurier, and the plot sounds very intriguing. Francis Jellicoe is dying. A man who calls himself the Vicar visits, hoping to extract a deathbed confession. He wants to know what really happened that fateful summer of 1969 when Francis, tasked with surveying a dilapidated country house, first set eyes on the glamorous bohemian couple Cara and Peter. She recalls the relationship they forged through sweltering days, lavish dinners and elaborate lies, and the Judas hole through which she would spy on the couple. Were the signs right there from the beginning? Or was it impossible to avoid the crime that split their lives open like rotten fruit? Sounds really interesting. Not the kind of thing that I would normally pick up apart from the Gothic element, which obviously I love. So it'll be interesting to see what I think of this one. And finally, another buddy read. Some friends and I, Lizzie, whose channel I would link in the description, and Hannah also will be linked in the description. We've decided we're going to reread the Morganville Vampires books. I don't know how far we're going to get with them, whether we'll just read the first book in the first month and go from there. I also love this series. The Morganville Vampires is one of my top vampire series of all time. I think Rachel Kane did a beautiful job of creating a very unique vampire world, so I'm excited to reread these. So in this one, Claire goes to college in a town that turns out is run by vampires, and you're not able to leave because once humans go there, they can't leave and spread the secret of vampires to the world. It has got amazing characters, great vampire mythology, so I'm looking forward to refreshing my memory about this one and reading it all over again. I've also got a few books on my Kindle to read, and you probably noticed that this TBR already sounds a little bit out of control, but I'm being ambitious to start the year, so we'll go with that and hope that I manage to do it. I do have an early copy of The Drift by CJ Tudor, which comes out in January. I was hoping to read it before now, but I hadn't managed to get to it. CJ Tudor is one of my favourite horror authors. She's written things like The Chalk Man and The Burning Girls, so I'm excited to see what this one will be like. I also have got really into Charlene Harris's books in 2022, so I'm probably going to read the rest of the Aurora Teagarden books because they're really short reads. They're only a couple of 100 pages long each, and I tend to read those on a night on my Kindle so I can read them quite fast. So the names of the next books are Poppy Done to Death, Sleep Like a Baby and All Little Liars. I seem to be averaging about 3 Aurora Teagarden books a month for the last couple of months, so I think that should be fairly doable. I've also got a book on my Kindle called Youngblood by Sasha Lawrence. I can't remember much about it apart from the fact that it's about vampires, so hopefully I'll get to that one and I can tell you a little bit more about it in my wrap up, and if not, I'll put it on my TBR for the following month. So that is it, a huge pile of books I hope to read next month. I'm excited about the YA Book Club, so I hope that some of you would like to join me. Please let me know in the comments what books you're excited about to reading next year. whether you're planning to join the book club and if you've read Frozen Charlotte before. Thanks so much for watching. If you'd like to like and subscribe, we really appreciate it, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Thank you, bye.